Robyn, thanks for sitting down with me today. I appreciate it. Robyn, let's start with the basics. Why are bees so critical to the seed industry?
Well, thank you, and great question. Bees are critical to agriculture, particularly in terms of pollination. In fact, about 1/3 of every bite of food that we eat are pollinated by honeybees or other pollinators.
Right.
And it's interesting when you look at the seed industry and the crops that we grow with such high value seeds today. We can't afford not for those crops not to grow and to flourish, and so pollination is essential.
If we ask 100 people in the seed industry, how many of them can tell me what the role of pollinators play in the seed industry? It doesn't seem like it's something that's well understood. Does that ring true to you?
Yeah, I think it depends on what crop you're growing. So obviously, corn doesn't require bees for pollination.
Right.
And yet some of the, I would say, more interesting foods in our diet, like the fruit and vegetables and nuts, and those are the crops where bees are critical for pollination. And so I think if you talk to growers who are growing those crops, they'll be very, very much more aware of the importance, and particularly if you talk to almond growers. So almonds, I'd say, are probably the number one crop for which pollination is most critical, and they're the number one users of honeybees for pollination.
Right. So I'm sure you won't be surprised that our conversation is going to go down this path, but in your opinion, have we discovered the full reason for the colony collapse, the damage that's happening to pollinator colonies?
There's a lot of theories out there, and a lot of differing opinions. But on the whole, if you talk to researchers and scientists and beekeepers, there is a general agreement that there is no one single thing that is really affecting bee health today, but it's really more of a complex interaction between multiple factors. And in fact, USDA and EPA brought together a wide, diverse group of stakeholders and actually had a summit on this topic, really to try and get to the bottom of what is affecting pollinator health. And the report from that meeting came out just in May this year, and they highlighted the varroa mite as being the number one most detrimental factor to bees today.
And so then, how do the neonicotinoids fit into this conversation? How does that jive?
Well, despite what you might have read in the media and what you may have heard just in the general buzz, the data does not support the fact that it's neonicotinoids that are affecting bee health. In fact, in large multifactorial studies that have been done both in North America and in Europe, you really do not see good correlation between neonicotinoid use and poor bee health. In fact, if you utilize Australia as an example, you actually see quite the contrary, because neonicotinoids are used widely in Australia, but they don't have a problem with the varroa mite, and they're not seeing the same bee health issues that you see elsewhere in the world. So,
which makes it a logical, and not just a logical, but a scientific-based decision.
Right. There is a lot of data. Unfortunately, that data doesn't always find itself into the public eye.
Right. So I know that Bayer understands how important bee health is to agriculture. How does Bayer balance bee health with crop health, and what initiatives are they driving down to try and make that happen?
Well, clearly, agriculture needs both. We need bees for pollination, and we need crop protection products in order to enable farmers to to grow crops. So we have to find a way that both can coexist for sustainable agriculture. And so that is really the focus of, I would say, Bayer's Bee Care and Stewardship program. And stewardship is for me the critical point here. And in 2013, Bayer launched a stewardship program utilizing the word care. And the four letters of the word care each represent some what we call best management practices that growers can follow that can help protect bees from potential inadvertent exposure from crop protection products. And so, and they're very basic things that really probably, a lot of people are doing anyway. So the C, for example, stands for communication. A lot of issues can be solved through communication, and we're trying to encourage beekeepers and growers who are living in the same space to communicate better with each other, so that they're aware of each other's activities, that the growers are aware when they have beekeepers near their fields, and the beekeepers are aware when growers are going to be planting or spraying or conducting other activities like that.
Robyn, can you share some numbers with us about pollinators in the U.S.? Like, what are some of the numbers that play impact on our conversation here?
Well, one of the numbers that you hear very, very often is about overwintering losses. And this is not a new phenomenon. Typically, beekeepers have always experienced losses of their colonies over winter. However, I would say historically, those overwintering losses have been in the range of about 10 to 15%. However, more recently, the numbers have been more up around 30%. So 30% of all bees are dying off during winter. And again, there's various correlations that have been drawn as to the cause of that. Again, the strongest correlation has actually been seen with the varroa mite. When we have high infestations of varroa mite, you see the bees are really not strong going into winter, and so they do die off in much higher percentages. And it's tough for the beekeepers because they have to try and rebuild those numbers and split and build up the colonies in the following spring in order to get those numbers back up to the number of bees that we need in the US in order to sustain the pollination services. Right now there's about 2.5 million colonies in total in the US, and 1.6 million of those are required for almond pollination alone.
Wow, that is a big number. So 1.6 million of 2.5 million are for almond pollination alone. What's the total? I don't mean to put you on the spot with this, Robyn, but what's the total number of bees? Do we have any concept of what that number is, what it is now, and perhaps what it was 5 years ago?
Yeah, so again, it's difficult to measure because the numbers are fluctuating so much. I would say in the last 5 years, the actual total number of colonies has remained fairly stable. And that is because beekeepers have gotten really good at building the numbers back up again every spring. So the amount that is lost over winter has gone up, but the actual number of colonies has maintained roughly stable because the beekeepers have had to put more and more into building them back up every spring.
Right. And earlier this year, Bayer opened up their Bee Care Center in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I think that Bayer's pretty proud, and rightly so, of the facility.
Absolutely. It's been a key initiative for us to continue our work in the area of bee health research. And actually, it's interesting, but through our Bayer's Animal Health Division, we've actually been working in the area of bee health for more than 25 years, trying to find solutions for the problems like the varroa mite that really are affecting bee health. And some of the products on the market today that beekeepers are using to help control their varroa mites are products that over the years Bayer has helped to develop and bring to the market. And one of the objectives of the Bee Care Center is to heighten and increase and continue that research in the area of varroa mite control, but also looking for solutions for other diseases and problems that are facing bee health today.
The EU is taking a slightly different approach to this, and authorities over there are banning neonics. And how do you see that and all of the other pieces in play affecting farmers in the U.S. for the next 12? We'll keep it nice and short and say for the next 12 months.
Yeah, we were very disappointed by the decision by the European Commission. It really was based on I would say it was politically driven and not based on a good scientific risk assessment. In fact, it's interesting when you see the new risk assessment process that Europe is coming out with today. I think just about every single pesticide that's on the market today, ones that we know are not damaging to bee health, would all fail.
Right.
So the one thing I think we can say is that today EPA and in Canada, PMRA, are sticking by a science-based sound regulatory system, and they're looking at the true science out there and making decisions based on that. And I hope that the political pressure, as was seen in Europe, doesn't have an adverse impact on that. But I think we can see that the authorities will continue to come under pressure, particularly from certain anti-pesticide activist groups that are, I would say, putting a lot of money into putting information, much of it unfortunately misinformation, out into the media, and it's creating, I would say, awareness. It's also creating a pressure on the regulatory authorities, and we have to continue to communicate good science, communicate about the true factors that are affecting bee health, but at the same time also to promote good stewardship of our products.
Right.
And that really is it's along those lines, it's along the communication, the outreach, and the stewardship that we're really focusing our efforts.
Can you talk a little bit about those efforts? What initiatives does Bayer, and a two-stage question, what initiatives does Bayer have in place, and is there anything else that you can see that the seed industry or the seed treatment industry needs to be looking at to really get that true information, that data-driven information out to the world?
Yeah, so in 2013, Bayer launched a Bee Care Tour, which really was an effort to communicate about the importance of bees, the factors affecting bee health, but then also our best management practices and the stewardship program. We toured across the Midwest, stopped at all the different land-grant universities, and invited multiple stakeholders in. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I think the real solution to the issue here is through multi-stakeholder collaboration. And so if we can help bring the parties together to foster that dialogue, then that's a great start. So we launched the tour. We're going to be running another tour again in 2014, and just being present at many meetings when stakeholders are present. So trade shows and customer meetings and meetings like here at ASTA, and really trying to communicate and educate in the hope that the people who hear our messages will then take them and amplify them further in conversations that they're having with customers. And that goes to your second question about what can people do. I would say get educated, and then help spread the word.
Right. In that spreading the word piece, everyone's always afraid to be the lightning rod that says, like, what a surprise, seed treatment companies say seed treatments are safe, right? So if everyone's afraid to be that, how do we empower them, and how do we give them the tools and the language to really to help everyone make a science-based decision? Any thoughts on how we can make them feel more comfortable with that?
You know, it's interesting because, you know, we've faced a lot of the same kind of comments and questions as like, well, do I really want to talk about this topic? You know, why do I want to bring up this issue if I don't have to? But actually what we've found is that by being proactive in our communication and talking about, you know, the facts and the science, it gives us an opportunity to tell our side of the story, because you hear so much about you know, alleged incidents and bee kills and neonicotinoids and things that you see in the press, that I think it's only fair that the science and as really the other side of the story also gets heard. And so I would encourage people to be proactive, and there's a lot of information that's already been pulled together by Bayer and by other companies who are members of ASTA in terms of talking points, in terms of data, in terms of science, and I think that information is available. Certainly we have a lot of information on our website, what people can go to and download, fact sheets and information booklets and presentations and that kind of thing. So the information's there. It's also available through industry associations. So as I said, there are a lot of people within ASTA who are working on this topic, and also within CropLife America. So CropLife has a pollinator issues management team, and they've also been instrumental in pulling together a lot of information that is helpful for people to get the word out there.
Perfect. Robyn, thanks again for sitting down with me.